The Digital Production Buzz is brought to you by Shutterstock.com, a global marketplace for royalty-free images and videos. With over 2 million royalty-free HD and 4K video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. And by Otherworld Computing, providing quality hardware solutions and extensive technical support to the worldwide computer industry since 1988.
Rolling! Action!
Since the dawn of digital filmmaking,
Authoritative.
one show serves a worldwide network of media professionals,
Current.
uniting industry experts,
Production.
filmmakers,
Post-production.
and content creators around the planet.
Distribution.
From the media capital of the world in Los Angeles, California, the Digital Production Buzz goes live now.
And welcome to the Digital Production Buzz, the world's longest-running podcast for creative content producers covering media production, post-production, marketing, and distribution around the world. Hi, my name is Larry Jordan, and joining us is our co-host, Mr.
Michael
Mike
Horton.
It's amazing.
Horton. Just sent in my new contract today. I re-signed for 3 years.
Is that what we were doing today?
Yeah.
And you said it was just an autograph that you
No,
needed.
I re-signed for 3 years, Larry. You got me for 3 more years.
Oh, that's good news, by the way.
You're speechless, aren't you? I don't know what to say.
We've got an Australian theme to our show this week.
It is. It's all Aussies.
You can be quiet now.
Okay.
Craig Ratcliffe of Craig Ratcliffe Photography is based in Brisbane, Australia. His work includes advertising, classic portraiture, and lifestyles. Tonight he shares his thoughts on current trends in photography. And then a gentleman who is well known to Mr. Horton, Dan Berube, along with Mike Horton, is the co-founder of the world-famous Supermeet. He's also a film producer in his own right, based in Boston. This evening he takes us behind the scenes of the Supermeet because Mike doesn't talk about that show at all.
Ever.
Colin Brown is a filmmaker. He's also from Brisbane, Australia, and talks about filmmaking for nonprofits. He has a lot of experience in both filmmaking and nonprofit charities, and I'm very much interested in his thoughts. Remember, you can read text transcripts for each show, courtesy of Take One Transcription. Transcripts are located on each show page. You can learn more at takeone.tv, and thanks, Take One, for making it possible. Next week is the annual NAB show, and the Buzz is covering it in depth. More than 90 interviews spanning 12 hours of production starting Monday, the 13th of April at 10:30. For all the details, visit nabshowbuzz.com. Mike, or
How many people are you bringing? I mean,
17.
17
We're taking
people.
17 people. We're setting up a broadcast radio station and a broadcast television station, a 20 by 20 foot booth.
And you were live streaming. So
Live streaming
So
3
while I'm
shows
in
a
my
day.
hotel room tearing tickets for the Supermeet, I can watch this.
You can on your cell phone and on nabshowbuzz.com, any mobile device, any computer. Yes.
That's exciting.
It's a huge amount of work.
And you don't have Dan or I on the show.
We prefer to think of us having industry leaders on
Why
the
did
show.
I re-sign?
Are you going to be at NAB?
Yes, I will.
What do you
I'm
say?
driving Saturday. You know what's fun? I wish we had a roving camera because your offices are just jammed, filled
There's
with
so much
cables and boxes and giant televisions. And
It's impossible to tell you how many people worked on this.
how do you put that together?
Debbie
That's-
Price has produced it. Megan Paulus is responsible for putting all the gear together. And
They're worth
both,
their weight in gold.
They are running around like chickens with their heads cut off, except Megan's actually helping us with this show, so she's glued to her seat in the control room. But oh, what an effort that is. By the way,
Good luck, Larry.
it's going to be, we love it. It's an incredible amount of work, but it's just so much fun. I want you to watch it, nabshowbuzz.com. You can also visit with us on Twitter at DPBuzz, and as always, subscribe to our free newsletter at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Mike and I will be back with Craig Ratcliffe right after this. Finding the perfect royalty-free image or video for your creative project can be a crucial step in the filmmaking process. And whether it's for your website, publication, or video segment, the experts at Shutterstock.com can help you choose from over 2 million
royalty-free HD and 4K stock video clips, including time-lapses, aerials, green screens, and model-released clips. Sourcing over 12,000 brand new video clips each week, Shutterstock consistently offers the highest quality stills and video clips from professional filmmakers. Plus, Shutterstock provides sophisticated search engine tools so you can search and drill down by category, clip resolution, contributor name, and more. Also, use their great no-risk try-before-you-buy options so you can see how their clips will look in your project before making a single purchase. Try Shutterstock today. Sign up for a free account. No credit card is needed. And as an added bonus to you, enter promo code BuZZ2014 before December 31st to receive 25% off any footage package. Discover Shutterstock.com. That's Shutterstock.com.
Craig Ratcliffe is a commercial and advertising photographer shooting subjects as diverse as food and jewelry to landscape and industrial locations. Based in Brisbane, Australia, he has more than 40 years' experience in the competitive world of photography. He's experienced and transitioned from film to digital during his career, as well as a vast sea change in how photographs are taken and consumed. Hello, Craig. Good to have you with us.
Hi there, Larry. Love to be here.
It's good to have you with us. We've got
a bit of echo here.
well, at this point, you're bouncing off the walls of our studio. Craig, what got you started in photography?
My father was actually a very successful commercial photographer and advertising photographer in Sydney, Australia. I grew up in and around photographic studios. The smell of photographic studios. I was even a child model on many occasions.
Well, fathers do that to their kids on a regular basis.
They certainly did. Well, I had every intention of being a rock and roll star when I was 15, but my father had other ideas for me. So,
well, I think that your photography career got you to meet most of the rock and roll people in the world, it would seem to me.
I've met a lot of people in my career, from prime ministers of Australia to leading actors in Australia. I've certainly photographed quite a few musicians in my time as well.
You got started when you were 15, if I remember reading correctly on your blog. What I'm interested in, before we talk about the process of photography, is as you think back to your father mentoring you, what was one of the most important lessons you learned about the business of photography from him?
It's basically communication. It's talking to your client. It's actually, I've got a saying myself now that the best photographs in the advertising industry are taken with your ears. You must listen to your client. You must see what they see and interpret what they see visually. That's probably the most important thing I could advise anybody. I never consider myself exactly an artist. I'm an interpreter of other people's visions.
Well, when it comes to interpretation, some of the images on your website are just stunning. I mean, glorious is the only word that I can use to describe exposures that I would die to get on my gear. It's just some amazing stuff. But what was your specialty shooting? Because you've covered so much stuff. What were you starting off shooting when you first began?
Look, I learned a very hard school of photography. I was probably 8 years before I started shooting myself. My father, within the first couple of shoots I did with him as a very young man, as a 15-year-old, I sat down in a chair during a shoot. I never sat down again. Never in my life did I sit down again, and I still don't. It was up, get out of that chair. And probably with words I can't express here, but I don't really sit down anymore. There's always something to do. There's always something to do in a studio. There's always more you can do to a photograph. That's probably in the end analysis, when you're taking a photograph, you've got to find that point when, particularly in still life, where with complex images like, say, jewelry. There comes a point where you must be satisfied with what you've created. But then again, you can always go further. And this magic moment, you go.
Well, the thing I like is that many of the images I looked at look so natural and look so unartificial. That it looks like there's no special light. It looks like they're just sitting there looking, whether it's a lifestyle photograph of a model or food which looks edible or a car which doesn't have any speculars gleaming off. It looks the way you would expect it to look, which has got to take forever to light.
It does. I'm getting much better at it, in that we've got having moved into the digital era. I tend to move my subjects around into a position where they work visually in a lighting aspect. My main focus is to make things look natural, so that the human eye interprets it well. It's there's instances where, particularly in modern photocomposites, where you might see a view out of a window, which is there's far too much detail in. The human eye isn't going to see that. It's going to interpret that as looking like a mural if there's too much detail, and then too much detail in the room. And it's just that magic balance, I suppose, has just taken years to perfect.
You talk about...
And I do it with my eyes.
You talk about making your images look natural, and when you talk about people looking natural, some of the images that you have on your website of corporate CEOs, office people, these are not necessarily professional models. These are amateurs. How do you get them to behave the way that you want them to behave so it's natural?
There's a number of ways I do that. Well, one is that I totally expose myself, as in... That's
good. Nothing more need be said.
I have no inhibitions when I speak to people. I tend to make myself, let's say, the funny guy in the room, the stupidest guy in the room, so the person I'm photographing doesn't feel inhibited, because I've made a bit of a goose of myself. Then they don't feel that way. I'm the goose. Or I might just find out something they're interested in, and I'm well read, maybe. I'm not that well read, but I know a lot of stuff about a lot of things, from sport to politics to anything. So I can actually discuss something with them and completely take them off guard usually. And a lot of those shots will be done when people may be actually doing their job.
Do you actually spend a lot of time with them before you actually push the shutter button, and or do sometimes you don't have the time, you just have to make them feel comfortable?
Usually these days there's no time.
Yeah.
I'll walk into an office and I just get them. It's almost like shock. But I might also get them from a distance long lens when they're not aware of my presence. I might take the shot, set up a shot, do the shot, but then as I'm leaving, get the shot when they think it's over.
I was reflecting, your career began in '74, and in those days, the way you would do retouching is you would actually be marking on the transparency itself. What's it been like over the last 40 years as we make the transition into digital? Do you miss the days of being able to physically touch film and retouch the way you used to, or is it all Photoshop world and there's no going back?
Certainly, there's a lot I miss about conventional or non-digital photography, and that's probably the reward of picking up your photograph, and it's the latent image. It's that way. With digital, it's instant gratification, and that latent image that is sitting there in that roll of film, and you don't know it's right until it comes out, and you put that on a light box, and that feeling of, wow, it's great. That's what I miss. It's these days. It's, well, look, I've got it, and I don't feel like I just miss that a lot.
Back in those old days, did you develop your own film, or did you send it out?
Oh well, I most certainly I built the first darkroom I ever did a black and white print in or processed any negatives in. I built myself.
Ah, cool.
Under my father's instructions. So I had to be a carpenter first. And I'm not a great carpenter, but I managed to get everything level. He had me in the darkroom virtually night and day for about 4 years. So that learning, this is something that doesn't happen today because we don't have light-sensitive materials, chemical materials. And that learning of things, how to do things in the dark, that razor, you're using a scalpel in the dark. I used to have to do that when you'd cut sheets of film.
Yeah.
I miss a lot of that. I miss the smell.
Sure.
The fixer, when you would walk into a photographic studio, they'd always have that odor, that background odor of fixer. And
I did this in college as part of the way to pay my tuition. I was in a dark room and I worked hours and hours and hours. And yes, the smell. I can still remember the smell, which has affected my brain, which is why I can't speak more than about 60 minutes before I start to slur.
Well, don't worry. When my father occasionally would underexpose a black and white image, I knew how to, and he taught me how to produce. Say a lot of people don't understand that you can actually intensify negatives. And that's a process of sepia toning using potassium ferrocyanide and potassium bromide and sodium sulfide. My fingers, nails would go black.
There's your smell.
That's one hell of an odor, I can tell you.
That's why you and I would do really well in a bar.
Craig, do you find yourself planning shoots differently? Because back when you were shooting film, even though you really had, to many people, an unlimited film budget, you still didn't shoot anywhere near the number of images you shoot now digitally. Do you plan shoots differently now that they're digital?
I try not to. I try to think of it that I'm still using film. But the habit, as it is with the many photographers, is that you do overshoot. And of course, there were budgets for the amount of film you could shoot. A 120 roll of film wasn't all that cheap, and especially if you had to process it. Although I did have an E6 processor towards the end, and a photocomposite service. We would do sometimes 18-element photocomposites. I had an in-house retoucher and photocompositor. So when it came to the shift to digital, and now these days when you can work in layers, and I kind of understand it very well because you're essentially doing the same thing. I myself don't work in layers. I do use the Photoshop as a darkroom.
I want to take you back to the days of film because when I was reading this on your website, it's just too good not to talk about. How would you build a composite image when you were working with film? I mean, there's no digital layers in Photoshop. You're looking at different pieces of film. How would you build a composite?
Very good planning. Very good planning.
Yeah.
You would have to. You required a very good rendering by the art director or designer, which they often didn't understand that they had to do. And you say, well, this has to fit here and this has to fit there. They have to essentially give you a blueprint, if you like, that you can work around. You can't just magically put everything together. And you can get very good effects. It can work very well. And I mean, goodness, you only have to go back 20, 25 years, and it was all traditional photo composition. There was no Photoshop.
But how would you build a composite? What was the technical process?
All right. I myself didn't do it myself. We had a compositor and a retoucher. But basically what you would do is create to scale duplicate ectochromes. So in or format, say we would do our composites at about a 1411 ectochrome. You would create each ectochrome two sides, and then our retoucher would get some what was known as ruby lith film, and you'd have to cut with a scalpel around each. So you create the mask.
Jeez.
The ruby lift mask would be taken away, and then we, in our case, would get the compositor to then create a soft-edged mask out of lithographic black and white film. And you could grow or shrink the edge and soften and harden the edge purely by time, temperature, and agitation process. Then you took all those masks that were in black and white, put them under an enlarger, and with a pin registration board, they would be exposed one at a time. So you had a positive and a negative mask on each layer.
This was back when, 1940 something? Was it?
We were still doing this in 1990. So yeah.
And now you can do it digitally, and we do the same thing, but we only do it digitally.
Well, exactly. You are doing exactly the same thing. There's not that much difference.
Yeah.
Are you?
Except there's no smell.
Exactly right, John.
What cameras are you shooting now?
I use a Hasselblad.
Oh my goodness.
I generally don't take that on location, and she's getting a bit old. They're very expensive cameras.
Yeah.
I'm still running on a DH2, which is the 22 megapixel,
Jeez.
which is adequate. I'm usually tethered, and I use that for my jewellery and my food photography generally. And in my and I also use Nikon for my field cameras. I miss the days of, and I really, really wish that someone would do something about this. I really miss my bellows. I miss my view cameras. I don't think people realise exactly what you can do with optics. Rather, quite simply, if you learn how to use a view camera.
Like the ground glass plate on a Hasselblad, you mean?
No, I meant when you're using a 5x4 camera or 10x8 camera. Where you can shift front panel, shift, tilt, swing. And with all those movements, it becomes unnecessary to look. You can do it optically rather than electronically. And since Cinar basically went out of business, to my knowledge, there hasn't been anyone producing bellows, a view camera with a digital back. I've attempted it. I had one. I tried to build one, but
keep practicing.
I will.
There's a lot of kids that are starting out in school that would love, at the end of 40 years, to look back on a career similar to yours and feel as good about it as you do. What advice do you have for them?
Wow, it's a tough world. It's an extreme. I was lucky. I've got to say, I was lucky. I had an amazing photographer father. So it wasn't ever easy. But these days, my goodness, I mean, there are so many photographers out there competing against much young photographers. My own son is now a videographer, so it's gone to a third generation. And I think I've taught him pretty well, and it's the philosophy of it. It's hard work. Never. In my game, I have to forget everything for my business for what I do. I miss parties, post holidays, work Christmas Day.
Right.
You can't say no. You have to be there. You are on call. Constantly, and you've got to understand that. Also, I don't know whether you really necessarily have to take that many photographs. I think you look at the world as a photographer. I remember my dad used to say, "Give me a pair of L's," and he'd go around and look at things like this, and shape and compose your images. You don't and visually remember that and do those exercises.
That's a great tip.
I teach that to all of my college kids, and they all get embarrassed saying, "How can you do this? It just makes me feel weird." And I say, "Yes, but now you're a camera." No.
Good on
finger to thumb and thumb to finger. Just getting them to get their fingers in the right spot is a challenge.
Yeah, what format? Are we shooting CinemaScope? Yeah, Larry, that's very good of you that you do that, because look, we can go and create thousands and thousands of images that often you're not even going to look at. But you know what? If you do this and have a look at the world, that's as necessary.
And Craig, where can people go on the web to study your work and learn more about you? And hire you, for that matter.
And hire you, yes.
And hire me. Well, I'm available here. I have a website at the moment. It's under. It will be redeveloped, but at the moment it's www.ratcliffephotography.com.
That's all one word, ratcliffephotography.com. And Craig Ratcliffe himself is a gentleman we've been talking with. And Craig, thanks for joining us today. It was fun.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
When you're working with media, one thing is essential. Your computer needs peak performance. However, when it comes to upgrading your Mac, there are so many different options to choose from that the process can be confusing. That's why Otherworld Computing carries the best upgrades that lets your computer performance and storage grow as your needs grow. Since 1988, OWC has become one of the most trusted names in quality hardware and comprehensive support to the worldwide computer industry. With an extensive online catalog of Mac, iPhone, and iPad enhancement products, as well as a dedicated team of knowledgeable experts providing first-rate tech support, OWC has everything you need to take your current system to the next level. Whether you need to maximize your system's memory, add blazing speed, or enhance reliability, look no further than the friendly experts at OWC. Learn more by visiting macsales.com today. That's macsales.com.
Dan Berube is the founder of the Boston Creative Pro User Group. He's also the co-producer with our own Mike Horton of the world-famous Supermeets and a long-time recurring guest on the BuZZ. Hello, Dan. It's good to have you back.
Hey, Larry. How are you? And
hello, Dan.
how's it going, Mike?
Dan,
I have one question for you.
Yeah.
we are listening.
Where's my contract?
Yeah. I've already signed the 3-year contract.
Mike signed on your behalf, so I'm sure that he'll deal all the business details to you a little bit later. Dan, how would you describe the Supermeet?
I describe the Supermeet as almost there. We are so excited. We are like on the eve of one of the baddest, greatest Supermeets that we have put on in our history. And we're in our 14th year. Next year we have our 15th year, and God, I wish it was at the Riviera. But that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, for those of you, for those people who don't know, the Riviera is going to be blown up here in August.
I did not know that.
You did not know that?
Did not know that. So I'm glad to find out.
No, the Supermeet is the last event the Riviera is going to have.
Are you April?
They're closing in May.
And
then they're blowing it up in August.
After the Supermeet, there's nothing left.
After the Supermeet.
Well, trust me, we're not going to blow it up. We're going to put on a good show. Yeah, we're going to bring down the house.
We're going to bring down the house, right?
Dan, 14 years is a heck of a long time. What was it that encouraged you to start this with Mike all those years ago?
Oh my God. Well, it goes back to, again, I was doing Final Cut Pro consultations. I was working at the Apple Faneuil Hall Market Center. And I just basically decided to start doing another group. I was working with the Media 100 group. And then this thing called Final Cut just came out at NAB that was software based and could use the FireWire DV port on your computer, and that was it for me. I was working for a public television series, and I moved and started my own company, and here I am today.
Michael, you're in LA, and Dan is in Boston. How'd the two of you guys ever connect?
A lot of Skyping.
Well, not just now, but I mean, what was it?
No, Dan and I first met at DV Expo in 1959, something like that.
1959, yes.
It was something like that. And Dan had come out. He was working for Canon, and we were having a user group meeting there with Apple, and Randy Ubelos was there, and Brian Meany was there. This was back in the days when Apple would actually send people down and actually do stuff.
I do remember those days. days.
well, they were doing it then, and that's where we met. And Dan said that's when he was going to start the Boston Final Cut Pro user group, and I said, "Yeah, good luck." It's like
Exactly. It was a handshake and good luck, and there we are today. I think Milton Berle was at that event too.
Who was?
Back in okay, Milton Berle, right?
Yes, he was, and he was a very young guy at that time. In fact, he was the MC of that night. He and Bing Crosby.
Dan, you and Mike both run user groups in addition to the Supermeet. And one of the things that Mike has remarked on many times is how hard it is to get people to come out to events like user groups. Are you seeing the same issue? Are people reluctant to show up for user group meetings or Supermeets? And if so, how do you encourage them?
I tell you, it's all about learning from P.T. Barnum, leave them wanting more. And I do, and they come back every single month. I'm at a wonderful facility at Emerson College in Boston at the Paramount Theater and the Kevin Bright screening room. Kevin Bright launched it. He's the executive producer, was the executive producer of Friends, and is now the director of the Emerson LA campus on Sunset Boulevard. But, we've got a 2K theater over the summer where it's being retrofitted to a 4K theater.
Oh, wow.
And I just have wonderful, wonderful instances of people gathering together and talking to each other, screening their work, having some great speakers, and having a damn good time while we're doing it. So,
well, let's keep going with that because the Supermeet's coming up and you're carrying that same theme over to the Supermeet. Have you and Mike ever announced the agenda, or are you still keeping it secret?
Yeah, but you have to pay attention. It was announced 3 months ago.
Yeah, we don't have an agenda. No,
we don't have an agenda, but we do have food.
Yeah. We do. We have what was it? Pickled?
Yeah, pickled corn. Those little tiny little pickled corn.
No,
that certainly makes me want to show up.
Big, poles stuck in the floor, and people just go up to it and nosh at it while they're talking to each other.
It's going to be awesome. No, we do have the agenda. All you have to do is go to supermeet.com and check it out. It was announced, just about 5 days ago, something like that.
Who are some of the...
we have Black Magic Design, we have HP and NVIDIA, we have Isotope, Ripple Training, Adobe, GenArts, Otherworld Computing. This is probably the best show that we've had.
This is a jam-packed show.
We have a little bit of everything for people to be able to sit there, watch, and then go back outside and talk to each other. And the biggest thing about the Supermeet is for people to get together and talk to each other.
Yeah,
why is that so important to you, Dan? Because Mike says the same thing, but why is that so important?
Because no one talks to me. No, because I enjoy being with people. It's part of me. It's my inner being. It's a passion that comes from within me. There's passion, humility, and I love building these events that bring people together. And I hear.
No,
we're trying not to pick up on the humility.
That would be my answer. Because I do this because nobody talks to me.
I mean, I spend a lot of money doing it, but you know what? Every Supermeet, people talk to me.
At least I get to talk to people. Oh, that's pretty good.
It's all about relationships. This industry, it's the corniest phrase in the world, but it's so true. You have to get out, you have to talk to people, and you have to sell yourself and then listen to people. It's equal parts selling and listening.
Yeah,
and when you do that, magic happens.
Every time that Dan and I are asked that question, why do we do this kind of stuff? And the answers are corny, but it's honestly, it's really from the heart. It's what we hope to achieve at every Supermeet or every user group meeting, that people meet each other and talk to each other, learn from each other, help each other, and then hopefully collaborate with each other. And that's the biggest reward we get out of these things, and that's what keeps us going. And so we hope to do it again this year, and then the year after, and we'll continue going.
Just don't blow up another hotel next year.
No, we've already blown up the Stardust. Now we're blowing up the Riviera.
Dan, do you have a raffle?
We have a history.
Dan, do you have a raffle?
Do I have a raffle?
Yes,
we do have a raffle at the Supermeet. It is $1 billion.
Exactly.
And
we're giving away Lynda.com.
The biggest raffle we've had yet. We're giving away cameras, human beings, switchers, software, hardware. We're giving away a big DaVinci Resolve panel, what's bigger than what I'm doing. It's just a lot of things we're giving away. Plus, there's a big door prize. The first 500 people through the door get a 10,000 plus. Well, one lucky person gets a $10,000 HP workstation.
That's the workstation and the Dream Color monitor.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
And then everybody who registers and goes to the Supermeet is going to get a prize from Gen Arts. And Jeff Greenberg is going to rock the house with Gen Arts and is going to talk about that. So just show up, and you may win something in the raffle, but you're definitely going to win something from Gen Arts and all the loving that's in the room.
Yeah, everybody's going to go home with something. So that's going to be fun.
Dan, I know we've only got a few seconds left, but you've also got a film and competition called The Chain.
Oh, yeah.
And tell me, where can people go to learn more about that? Because that's such a cool film, and I really want people to be able to see what's going on with that.
Yes, we're screening April 18th at the Monadnock International Film Festival. So go to moniff.org.
How do you spell that?
Moniff, MONIFF.org. And you'll see a listing Saturday, April 18th under short films.
And how about Supermeet? Where can people go?
Supermeet.com with a double E, never with an E and A.
And how about with Boston Creative Pro User Group? Where can they go there?
Well, it's the acronym, but BOSCPUG.org.
All right, so let's hit them all. That's Moniff, MONIFF.com for Dan's film, Supermeet.com for the Supermeet, and BOSCPUG.org for Bossy Pug. Dan, thanks for joining us today.
See you, Dan, in 2 days.
Bye-bye.
See you soon.
Colin Brown has over 18 years' experience in the film industry, holding senior positions in post-production companies in both Australia and New Zealand. Colin has won several awards and been instrumental in luring major productions to his native state of Queensland. Colin now helps non-profit charities in Australia, including producing a series of videos for other non-profits. Hello, Colin. Welcome.
Hi, how you doing?
Well, we're talking to you. I think that's a great way to start.
Colin is wearing the same thing that Craig was wearing.
He was in.
This is an Australian thing.
Am I wearing the same, really?
Really, you are. You are wearing the same kind of earbuds kind of thing with microphone
Very
dealing
cool look.
that Craig was wearing.
Yeah,
and you also have the same background as Craig was
Don't break his heart. He looks cool, by the way.
But you do look cool.
I can move it a bit. There you are.
No, it is an Australian thing. You look awesome, and you sound good.
Colin,
excellent. Well, that's the main thing.
Colin, you ran a post-production business in Brisbane for a long time. What kind of clients were you working with way back then?
we had different clients from major film productions right down to corporates.
And when was that? When were you working in post in Australia? Because you worked post in two countries. You were in Australia for a while and in New Zealand. Which one did you do first, and what made you switch?
I went to New Zealand after I finished sort of high school here in Australia. I'm not here. I'm in LA at the moment. But I went to New Zealand and was offered a job there to work on a cigarette commercial, actually. And from there, I sort of moved through the ranks to be the general manager of a film production company, and then from there, I missed home, actually, so I went back in Wellington in New Zealand. It's very cold.
Yes, it is.
So I moved back to Brisbane where it's warmer. So
that's why everybody moves to LA.
Yeah.
How long were you working in post, and when did you shift gears into working with nonprofits?
I worked in post for best part of 17 odd years, and then I made a move. Actually, I was the head of a advertising agency, and I did that for about 3 years. And in doing that, I met some people and who worked in the non-profit sort of sector, and realised that they needed help. So that's where it sort of came from.
Now, when you say they needed help, what did they need?
Well, initially, I'll go back one step. Initially, I lost a brother to cancer when I was young. So I found a small not-for-profit in Brisbane that helped the families of children with cancer. So they provide free accommodation for families that come from remote areas. And I saw that they needed help in terms of their branding and their marketing, and I actually sit on the board of that company, of that organisation now, and so I moved into making videos to help them get sponsorship and that sort of thing.
Wouldn't you love to do that?
Yeah, it would be
Gosh, I would
amazing.
love to do that. Can you make a career out of doing that? Can you pay the rent doing that?
No.
Yeah, that's what I was
It helps your heart, but doesn't help the pocketbook.
Fuck it, no. So I do it for the love. Actually, I don't do it for money. Some of the other videos I've made that that you charge a nominal fee, but it really is for the cause, so to speak.
Well, let's stay with nonprofits for just a bit. They needed help with branding. They needed help with marketing. They needed help. Basically, their heart's in the right spot, but it sounds like they just need direction. Is that
pretty much?
Is that a true statement? And then, if so, what advice do you give them? How can you enable a nonprofit to communicate their message to people that don't yet understand it?
I guess the thing with nonprofits is they get into a space where it's really competitive in terms of trying to get money. Everybody from the Ronald McDonald House to World Vision to Save the Children, everybody's trying to get everybody else, the general punter, the mums and dads and the company's money. So first of all, they have to realize that it's a competitive space. And then they have to realize that they need to get things in order in terms of approaching these companies, so corporates, if you like, to get sponsorship. So my advice would be to get things in order to make sure that you can present a case that is sellable and also viable, if that makes sense.
It always bothers me that we use that term and that word competitive when we come to nonprofits, because there are so many people and institutions trying to do the same thing. Why do we need to start another one, even though you think you have a better idea? And I'll be smaller, I'll be less, I don't know, it bothers me that we use the word competitive a lot when we come to nonprofit organizations.
Yeah,
but it's true.
I would agree with that. It is true. It is very true. But the ones that I'm involved with have a specific for where I live. I live in Brisbane, and they have a specific role in which in the area that they are, like the Childhood Cancer Support Society that I'm involved with, help people from remote locations to come and stay, and they offer that service for free. So they obviously need funding to do that. They don't get any government funding, so it's a tragedy, but it's real. There is competition in that space.
Sure.
You're working with a nonprofit now, creating a series of videos. Tell me about that project and what are you doing, and let's walk through the production process.
Yeah, sure. There's another local charity, if you like, in Brisbane that offer therapeutic horse riding for disabled people. So what that means is that they get everybody from people that cannot walk in wheelchairs to right through to sort of limited disability in terms of even hearing. So what horse riding does for those people is amazing. Actually, when you see it, it provides them with a confidence, and in the role in which it plays with wheelchair bound people is quite profound in as much as it helps their core. And I've seen kids that have, when they get on a horse, they're literally hunched over, and after a year of riding, they're able to sit up by themselves. So,
yeah, I live in a community here in Los Angeles called Chatsworth, and there's a horse riding therapy organization in that community, which is one of the best in the country. And it's only a couple of blocks from where I live, and I've gone over there a number of times and just watched the progress of wheelchair-bound people from one week to the other. It's extraordinary. It's just really extraordinary. The rewards are almost instant when they put somebody who's never been on a horse before, and it's boy, does it make you smile. It really does.
It does. So what I'm doing with them is, again, they needed help with their sort of their presence, their brand presence, and they've also trying to do a major upgrade on the facilities they have. So I've produced or am in the process of producing a brand video, if you like, for them. I approached the prominent Australian musician, got the rights to a song for them, and I'm just going to do like a little music clip for them to take to corporates and other organisations in the local Brisbane area to get funding for them to do that major upgrade.
Mm.
On the other ones that I do for that, I also interviewed some of their staff to again try and expand on their donation base, just basically to get the public awareness of what they do.
And how are those being distributed?
Via the net, by the internet.
Is there any
And
other way?
through some other sort of newsletter sort of based stuff as well.
So let's just talk tech for a minute. What kind of cameras are you shooting, and how are you getting it edited, and get as specific as you want?
Sure, it's a 2-camera process. There was a studio base where I did the interviews, shot on a Blackmagic camera actually, the 2K cinema camera, and the second camera is a Canon 5D. So, and the same with on location when I shoot the horses and the kids riding the horses, is a 2-camera shoot with the same cameras.
And then editing?
I actually do the editing. I started in the industry as an editor, so as a film editor. So that's a little passion for me. So I cut them and grade them in Resolve, cut them in Adobe Premiere Pro, and then output as one would normally do through there.
Now, you're shooting with the Canon, among others. Are you transcoding the footage, or are you just editing the H.264 natively?
Natively, editing it natively.
And then you go to Resolve for a color grade?
Correct.
And are you writing the script?
Yes.
See, he does everything.
That's it. Lights, cameras, action, editing. Wow.
Jibs and crane shots and copter shots. And
I wish. When you're working not-for-profits, it's hard to get...
well, now you can do it so cheap. You got all these quadcopters. You can put your little GoPro cameras and scare the horses. That's it.
Yeah.
What... As I think about it, unless you're a really well-established nonprofit and you've been in business for 40, 50 years and established the brand and people understand what that is, the biggest challenge is having people understand why they should contribute to you. In other words, why, with the limited charity dollars that they've got, why that particular charity? It seems to me that the biggest challenge you've got is answering that why question. What techniques are you using to help people be reassured that the nonprofit is worth contributing to? And the corollary that falls out of this is, what advice do you have other young nonprofits to answer that why question?
It's a great question. And it's quite difficult to answer. But it comes down to, for me, it comes down to exposure of what the charity. I mean, there's a lot of charities out there and a lot of not-for-profit organisations that are rubbish. That where the dollar doesn't actually get to the what they're trying to do. So, firstly, you have to establish what the organisation does and make people aware of that. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do with the horse riding thing, because not many people know about the therapeutic sort of things that offer these people with horse riding. But I think firstly is you have to identify exactly what you're doing and exactly what you're offering to whatever sector that you're in. Secondly, when you're asking for money, you have to, in my opinion, offer where exactly that dollar is going to go. So, for example, in the horse riding, it might be you sponsoring a horse, and in doing that, it enables the horse to be fed, etc., etc. and with the Childhood Cancer Society that I'm involved with, it's allows you can sponsor a unit where the families stay, or you can help with buying. For example, we did a drive not long back, a donation drive to each of the rooms needed a medical fridge to store the drugs that the kids needed for their treatment. So I guess that's a long answer to a very complex question. So in short, I think you need to identify the need and focus on where the dollar's going to go.
Then, continuing that same theme, what mistakes do nonprofits make, aside from not having enough money? What mistakes do they make in creating their videos that they need to think about avoiding?
Quality. I think one of the main things that happen with non-for-profits is that they get people that don't know what they're doing, or sell them an idea that isn't the right message. I guess that's what I didn't mention in the last question you asked. It's the messaging. The messaging has to be correct and on the money. And often non-for-profit videos are quite low quality. They look terrible. They're filmed on substandard equipment, and they just look terrible, which then reflects on the organization themselves to make the organization look terrible. So the one advice I would get is to get somebody that can do it to make it look professional.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, going back to that place in Chatsworth, the horse riding therapy place. One nice thing about living in Los Angeles, you're surrounded by a lot of talent, and a lot of talent is doing some very good things for this place, and they're using a lot of very professional equipment with a lot of talented people, and their video to get people to actually give money is so good that you cannot help but give money after you see the video. It's excellent. It's a beautiful story. It's beautifully done, and that's so important, because if you're going to spend 5 or 6 minutes watching this thing, it means a lot to your donations.
Exactly. And the other thing I would add to that is that if you're approaching CEOs or decision makers in big major corporates, they don't have a lot of time, so you have to pull that heartstring, so to speak, quickly.
Yeah, music's really important.
It is.
It is. It is.
What projects are you working on in the future? What's coming up?
I don't really know, to be honest. I will continue to work with the McIntyre Centre, which is the horse riding centre, and the Childhood Cancer Society that I work with. I'm on the board there, so that keeps me fairly busy as well. So I do these things on the side, so I'll continue to do that, I guess.
Yeah, please do. We need people like you.
So what are you going to be doing to pay the rent?
I've got a day job. I work in there. So I'll continue to do my day job.
Well, we appreciate your staying in late from work today to be able to visit with us. That's very kind of you.
Absolute pleasure.
I almost forgot. Do we have a website that people can learn more about the McIntyre Center that they can go to?
We do, yeah.
Do you want to share it with us so that we have a place for people to check it out?
Sure. It's rda.com.au.
That's RBA.
RD for dog A.com.au.
RDA.com.au, which is.
And can we see some of your work on that site?
No, not that site. That's actually, I told a lie. It's rda.asn.au.
Okay. Can we see some of your work on that site?
Let's talk communication and, getting the message drilled home, shall we?
That was the one thing you forgot to put on the video. Go to this site and get more information.
I do know what I'm doing. Yeah.
It was that lower third that you got wrong.
Give us the website one more time.
It's rda.asn.au.
All right.
That's the actual organization's website.
So where can we go to see your work?
I don't have a lot of stuff up.
You gotta put something up.
Yeah.
Make your own
I guess.
website. Next project, make your own website.
Yeah, you should feel guilty because
Yeah.
otherwise, millions of people are missing the quality of your work right now.
Exactly.
Anyway,
Yeah.
We need more people like you here in LA.
and Colin, thank you so very much for your time. It's been a wonderful visit, and we wish you
Pleasure.
great success going forward in the future.
And to you chaps as well.
Yeah,
care.
Thanks so
Bye-bye.
much.
Cheers. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Michael, it is so important to do this kind of work, and it's a tribute to him. He got started when his brother died of cancer.
Yeah, I can't tell you how important of what he said. The video that you do about that institution that you're talking about and trying to sell is so important. I mean, because you see so much just god awful stuff, and it really does make a difference when you only have 5 minutes to pitch, and show that 5-minute video. And if you can get that heartstring going, people will commit.
But it's so hard because you're a nonprofit and you've got so little money to work with. You feel that any money that you spend on a video.
Yeah, but guys like him, and also with tools being so affordable and one-man bands and things like that, it can be done for so cheaply. It's just that guy behind the camera, the guy behind the story. That's all it really needs. It really needs that talented person to take it to that level that you need it. And there's so many people out there who can do so many things. But you're right. We got to pay the rent. I mean, there's no good answers to this whole thing, but quality.
And message.
And message.
A strong message.
Yeah. That's a good topic, nonprofits.
It's a good topic. It's not a huge market, but it's so necessary.
I think it is a huge market. It's just do it well.
That's true. So when do you head out to Las Vegas?
I go Saturday. I know you're going tomorrow, right?
No, Saturday.
Oh, you really?
Drive Saturday.
Oh, so
Are
you're
you
spending
kidding?
all day.
We're tearing the BuZZ apart to be able to load it into the truck.
You're spending all day putting it into the truck, and then Saturday you're. So you're setting up on Sunday?
We're setting up Saturday afternoon and Sunday. We're building. It's a 20 by 20 foot booth, and we're building a complete radio station and, thanks to One Beyond, a complete.
I'm amazed that you can do.
television station.
Every time I go there, I see this thing. You've actually done that in probably 8 hours?
Mm-hmm. A little less. Yep. Full intercom system, full
I know.
networks, broadcast audio, broadcast video.
And also you do the cable rolling.
Yeah, I do.
Video
We specialize. We specialize in cable rolling. Next time,
Please
Michael,
tell me when you're going to do that.
I will tell you when we do it because I know
want
how
to be.
much.
That's Thursday at noon, right?
Just after we talk codecs, it's going to be a great.
It's going to be awesome. Please, everybody, be there Thursday noon. Cable rolling.
And you're welcome. You're welcome to come by the booth and say hi and take a look at what we're doing. It's a huge amount of work from a lot of people, and we are desperately proud of it. And love to show you
You should be. You got a good
how we
crew.
squeeze all that into a very, very small space: broadcast radio and broadcast television in a 20 by 20 foot booth, and half of it's stage. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I want to thank our guest for today, Craig Ratcliffe, a
And I
photographer.
won't be on the show. Just remember that, folks. I'm not on the show. I'm doing the Supermeet. Can you hear me, Mr. Audio Person? Okay. Go ahead, Larry, finish.
Dan Berube, who won't be on the show
It's not
either,
that
is
I'm
the
angry.
co-producer of the Supermeet, and Colin Brown, a filmmaker from Brisbane, Australia, except Dan, who's from Boston. But it starts with the letter B. What more do you want?
But Dan's kind of Australian.
Next week, the BuZZ is at the 2015 NAB show, creating more than 12 hours of live programming directly from the trade show floor. You can get all the details at nabshowbuzz.com. In addition, visit with us on Twitter at DPBuzz and Facebook at digitalproductionbuzz.com.
By the way, you're going Saturday. Do you want to meet in Baker, like at about 11 a.m.?
That'd be
Like at
great.
Bob's Big Boys?
We could do biscuits and bacon.
Biscuits and Baker? That big thermometer?
A little bit of brownies maybe on the side.
It's a deal. 11 o'clock.
I'm there.
11 a.m.
Theme music composed by Nathan Doogie Turner. Additional music on the BuZZ provided by smartsound.com. Text transcripts provided by Take One Transcription. Our producer, Serena Catania. Our crew, Megan Paulos, Alexia Chalita, Golia Keegan Guy, and Brianna Murphy. His name, Mike Horton. My name, Larry Jordan. And thanks for listening to the BuZZ.
Goodbye, everybody.
The Digital Production Buzz was brought to you by Shutterstock.com, a global marketplace for royalty-free images and videos. With over 2 million royalty-free HD and 4K video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. And by Otherworld Computing, providing quality hardware solutions and extensive technical support to the worldwide computer industry since 1988.